Can I like just do something real quick?
Sure, yeah.
All right. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? All right. So I'm Eric. This is Chris. Fred's going to introduce us. I just want to take one moment because I do this. I kick off all of our team meetings this way. I just want a moment of gratitude. So I just want everyone to take 10 seconds to be grateful for what we have, what we've come through, what is happening here, all of us being together. So just take 10 seconds, close your eyes, appreciate something that you're grateful for, all right? Thank you. Awesome. We have an academic here, and academics will tell you that when you practice gratitude, you feel happier. So that's fact. All right.
That's exactly how I was going to start this. So let me introduce you guys. So we've got Christopher Marquis, who's the Samuel C. Johnson Professor in Sustainable Global Enterprise at Cornell University, and the author of Better Business: How the B Corp Movement is Remaking Capitalism. We've got Eric Edelson, who you've already met, is the CEO of the California-based tile company Fireclay Tile, which is a certified B Corp. So I wanted just to start, last year I was interviewing a company called Backdrop, which does paint, and the founders, who are kind of young, cool millennial people, were like, we have this ethical give back component, and it stuck with me. The founder said, if you're starting a company in 2019 or whatever it was, and you don't have an ethical component, what are you even doing? And I think that's largely true. It's always been a good thing to be good, but why are we in this moment, Christopher, that it sort of seems like conscious capitalism, ethical capitalism, whatever you want to call it, is so popular, so big, so important?
I think a number of reasons. I mean, one, the problems we're dealing with are so big. I mean, if you look at climate change, inequality, that even the largest companies in the world, the Business Roundtable companies, CEOs of the largest 200 companies, are saying we need to focus much more on employees, consumers. I think that there is demographic reasons. You know, I look at my students, so, you know, I teach at Cornell on these issues of sustainability, social business, and, you know, over the past 5 to 10 years, it's just been amazing to me how, you know, they want to work at companies that have a purpose and a mission. They want to buy from companies that have a purpose and a mission. So, you know, I think these founders you were talking to, I mean, are right on target, that they're building their company for the future.
So let's dial in exactly what a B Corp is. I think probably some people have heard of it, but you know, what are the origins of it? What does it mean? Let's start there.
Sure. So a B Corp is a company that is certified for its social and environmental performance. You know, there's a rigorous certification process that probably, you know, Eric can talk more about the details of, but, you know, companies have to go through this ESG, environmental, social, and governance assessment. They have to change their incorporation form, the bylaws, so that actually within the sort of foundational documents and code, so to speak, of the company, there is, you know, a statement where we're going to look out for all stakeholders, not just shareholders, and they get to join a community of committed other fellow travelers, so to speak, that are really focused on delivering social value through business.
And Eric, you know, Fireclay is a B Corp, but the reason that you got started down that path was not quite as altruistic, if I recall correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, we were broke. I don't know if anyone's been in that setting before. But yeah, Salesforce.com was offering these like 80% subscription discounts by becoming a B Corp, and we needed cash. So we applied and were like thoroughly rejected. That was in 2011. So it actually took us 4 years to get to a place where we could become certified.
And did you get the discount?
No, they removed the discount. But you know, ultimately, I had first learned about the B Lab, which is the certifying body, in 2008.
Right.
I met one of his founders, Jay, and was very much inspired. I was very much looking for how to wrap mission and purpose into tile making, and being a manufacturer and a retailer. And you know, going back to your first question, Chris, I think it's this idea that, you know, consumers want to buy from brands with purpose and mission, and more importantly, for everyone in this audience, right? Like, your employees want this. So B Corps have 40% higher retention. 73% of employees are dissatisfied with the mission and vision of their company. And so becoming a B Corp and having the transparency and accountability truly solidifies and locks in this mission purpose behind your company.
So it's interesting because it's a certification and people hear that, and oftentimes I think the assumption is, oh, the government does it or somebody does it, but it's not. It's this thing called B Labs. It's an independent organization, and just to be totally clear, it costs money to be B Corp certified, and there's no tax benefit, right? Tell me a little bit about why people trust this organization to extend this certification.
Sure. So it's a nonprofit,
Right.
so which is one factor. So it's not actually in the sort of game of trying to actually get certification fees to support itself. It also actually has separated the sort of certification standards and the actual certifying body, so that it's actually an independent organization that is creating the standards, because there could be a conflict of interest there. I think part of why people would want to actually believe in this organization is just if you look at the companies that have become B Corps, Fireclay Tile is an example, Patagonia, King Arthur Flour, Allbirds. I mean, these are companies that, Eric had said, it's a hard, rigorous certification. It took his company 4 years to do it, that are willing to say, okay, we're going to put the time, effort, and some money into actually doing this. And there's only about 4,000 B Corps in the world. And about 50% are outside the US, so it's not just a US phenomena. So, I mean, the fact that all of these companies are signing up and working hard to do it gives me a lot of confidence in it as well.
Yeah. So Eric, let's talk about what it's like to actually get this certification. You said it took 4 years. That's a significant amount of time. What do you have to do? What do you have to prove about what you're doing?
Oh my gosh. Anyone been through like a financial audit or done your taxes, right? That's fun. It's similar to that, but more inspiring.
Sounds great.
More inspiring. I always say if you're interested in taking the B Impact Assessment, which I encourage, any for-profit business can become and should become, in my mind, a B Corp. And so I always encourage, go grab a bottle of wine and maybe two and start the assessment. Because it's lengthy. It's up to 400 questions, and it will really evaluate you on everything from your corporate governance, which is how you manage your business, how you share information, how you hold yourself accountable to what you do for your team, for your employees, what kind of benefits you offer, and not just like, do you offer healthcare? Check. What level of healthcare, how much of the premium, what kind of deductible, do you share ownership? Do you share bonus? Then it gets into community. Do you have any kind of give back programs? Do you do any community volunteering? And not just like, yes or no, but how many hours, what % of time. And then lastly, environmental stewardship. So, measuring your impact, water recycling, carbon impact, materials choices, all of these different things. So it really gets into the detail. You go through that, and then B Lab actually does an incredible job of truly following up. It's a process that once you go through the assessment, it could take 6 months, and they really audit you. They get into the detail, which is, to Chris's point, there's only 4,000. And so this is not a certification that's just handed out like to anyone. It really takes time, it takes effort, and it's really all about building that. B Lab's tagline is business for good, using business as a force for good. So it's really that long-term mindset of, I want to lead a business, I want to own a business, I want to be part of a business that stands for something that's more than just how much revenue do I have, how much money do I make, how many employees do I have, something like that. So it's quite a process, but I will tell you, even if you never become a B Corp, it is unbelievably inspiring. It will give you insight and ideas that you did not have before around what doing good could mean for you and your team.
Well, we were talking earlier, and it's interesting because you are really doing an audit of your business, and you probably see things that aren't related necessarily to being a B Corp that you're like, oh, why do we have to do it this way? This doesn't really make sense. You probably see things about your business that you didn't see before. I'm curious, Chris, if you could talk about examples of companies that have gone through this certification and come up with interesting innovations or ideas. What's come out of going through the B Corp process?
Sure, and I'll just add on to what Eric was saying, how inspiring it is. So I'm just an academic. I'm not actually the person that's in the trenches like Eric and his team and all these other companies that are doing it. But having talked now to about 100 plus B Corps that have gone through this process, I titled my book Better Business. And the reason why is that, probably 10 to 15 people told me, we got into this, we believed in the social mission, we have an environmental mission, we wanted to actually be accountable for that, but we came out of this process a better business because of all the things that Eric was mentioning. It's a way to actually benchmark and understand what sort of top of class companies and organizations are doing on all these different metrics. And I think, the thing that really makes it stand out, and I think to your question, Fred, is that it's a holistic assessment of the business, across, employees, consumers, governance, environment, et cetera. And every company has different learnings in many ways because every company has a different focus and profile. For instance, one really environmentally progressive company told me, we did great on the environment section, but we found out actually a bunch of our HR processes and practices, family leave, other things were just really substandard, and we actually worked to improve them. A number of companies, sort of sad, but said something about sort of our current day, said, we learned that we had a number of pay inequities in our company, and this was sort of spurred them to actually correct them. So I think that, there's a ton of learning that can be done. Eric mentioned there are 400 different questions, and I think for most companies it ends up being around 200 to 300, and the assessment is not just one assessment, but actually depends on your geography, depends on your size, depends on your industry. There's questions and sort of benchmarking tools that are sort of material to that specific intersection where your business is.
Fred, I was chatting with Chris, and this is for the audience, ahead of time, and Chris said, tell me about this industry. I don't really know much about the design industry, and we're like a little quirky, right? I mean, we're a little different. And I said, I think for this industry, right, we're so very much product driven. Everything is so much about the product, what we're specifying, where it comes from, whatever, like what it looks like, what color it is, what price it is. And I always say, like, B Corp it's like in the past, we were very focused on like organic or fair trade, right? Certifying products around certain things. B Corp is like certifying the holistic company behind all of these products, right? And so for each of you, it's really this thing beyond the product. It's at this company level. So it's really moving, again, we're talking about the future of home, and I think the future of good is moving from this idea of like certifying products to the companies and the people and the operations behind those products.
You mentioned that when you started to go through it, you were broke. And I mean, and Fireclay is an enormous company. I wasn't at the time. I'm just curious, for people out there who have small businesses, they're like, oh God, like, okay, so I'm just like trying to deal with this client, and okay, so then I'm going to pay someone to audit me. Like, I'm sure it seems like a bit of a hassle. Like, tell me, like, how do you get through that? Like, what made it worthwhile for you? Talk about the resistance.
We're like a huge fan of that idea of like 1% improvements every day results in huge improvements over time, right? And so I always kind of talk about these things where we couldn't get to the level of healthcare participation for our team that was required or being asked of, but we made moves. And so every year we got better. So I think it's really just bit by bit. I think that where this scale and this rating has so much value, the certification and the assessment is giving you a sense of like what those benchmarks are. I'll give you some like really specific examples. We did not offer life insurance or short and long-term disability. I didn't even know that was really a thing. I didn't even know it was that expensive. It turns out it's actually not. And because of the B Impact assessment, we turned those things on, we offered them, and 2 years later, very tragically, we lost a teammate, and that life insurance kicked in. Another month after that, we had another teammate diagnosed with ALS. That long-term disability kicked in. And really that investment was not very much, but those types of insights, and they're everywhere, right? I mean, from measuring your community involvement, we started doing, pledging 1% of like profits or of product and equity to nonprofits. And like at the beginning, it wasn't very much, but over time it adds and adds and adds. So I think that, if your expectation is you're going to take the assessment and like, boom, you're done. Like that's just not the case. That's never the case. But starting a little bit and having the intention and maybe setting a goal of 3 years, 5 years, it's like anything. Like you will get there. You just have to be intentional about it. And absolutely possible.
Yeah, no, and I think it's what I like about it so much is that I think most people probably think like, oh, I'm a good boss, I have a good company, like whatever, but it's really exhaustive, and you're like dialing into the particulars. You're like, I'm good. Oh, wait, I don't do these 300 things, So it gives you a framework to think about it. I'm curious. I want to talk about this piece about we talked about a little bit at the beginning, like whether consumers care. It's interesting, especially in the design business. There's this sort of complicated purchasing chain where it's like you're selling to a designer, you're selling to a consumer. What have you seen in your business? Do people care about the fact that you're a B Corp?
No and yes.
Okay.
So when you purchase from Fireclay, we ask you a question at the end, which is, why? What was your reason? And so number one is always like product offering. And so we make the world's most beautiful tile, and that's like paramount of importance. Second is usually around local manufacturing, and third is B Corp. And so that, like, almost consistently on our checkout surveys, that's what consumers come with. Our employees care. We have incredible retention, and we're able to recruit really well, and that matters a lot. And I think people are really inspired and really committed to being part of it and being part of the longer term mission. And like when the going gets tough, like they dig in really, really intentionally. So like I said, I think it's on both sides, but we definitely see it more on the consumer side. People are asking more about it. B Corp actually has like 43% brand awareness now in the United States. That's what B Lab says, which is actually that's a huge number. I applaud them. I had no idea it was that known, but it's becoming much more known. So I think it's becoming one of those things where it's additive. Once they see the product, once they meet us, when they discover we're also a B Corp, it's like amazing. That's awesome. So
right, like they're not going to buy ugly tile from a B Corp, but because it's beautiful, and this comes along with it. Christopher, tell me about what does research show in the broad sense? I mean, that's a very good finite example, but are B Corps always good businesses? Does it ever go wrong? Tell me about that.
So I think very consistent with what Eric was saying. I think that when you think about like what in many ways the value drivers are, I think that the employees, the levels of retention and actually attraction of talent, particularly for younger millennial Gen Z, is really a big deal. I think investors too nowadays are really excited to invest in these social mission concept companies because they see this as 5-10 years out, really the companies that are going public and becoming a big deal. I think that consumers are less so, but I do think, we've had these issues with, sort of greenwashing, companies being exposed for sort of saying they're doing green things and then actually not doing them, that actually having a rigorous certification will be increasingly meaningful. And I didn't know that 43% awareness, that's really come up a lot. I know among my students, and these are not just social impact classes, but just sort of general management leadership classes, I ask students, okay, how many of you have heard of B Corps? And I'd say 75% of the students have. So I think among younger cohorts, probably that number is even higher.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, to slightly play devil's advocate, sorry, my devil's advocate card, it says right there.
If anyone's ever been interviewed by Fred, he was going to ask you the tough questions. So.
Well, now you said that, it's not so tough. It's just, it's tempting to always think, the next generation is going to care so much about this stuff. I was just reading an article the other day about how, fast fashion is over because people care about sustainability, but then a company, I think it's called Shein or Shine. It's a company
from China,
it makes super, like, the cheapest,
right.
And that's a super success. It was like valued at $15 billion. I mean, are we kidding ourselves a little bit to think that, like, young people are really going to care about this? I'm not young anymore, so I can ask that question.
Yeah, so I think it's good to be skeptical, and I'm glad you're asking the hard questions. There is definitely, I don't know, there's a paradox necessarily, but I do think that, clearly there's, sort of widespread survey evidence, my experience having, talked to thousands of these individuals and hundreds of these companies. I do feel that there is tremendous sort of energy and excitement around this that is more than when I studied it in the past. I think that, I've been in this field studying this for about 15, 20 years. I do think that with all the climate, and disasters that we're seeing nowadays, it's really raising attention of a lot of other sort of government and company actors. But I think that you're right. I think that there is fast fashion. People support fast fashion. There's, people, before the pandemic would fly around places. They'd talk about sort of saving, buying their Patagonia jacket, but then, fly off to, Europe for the weekend or something like that. So it's not, the world is not clean and easy and perfect, but based on what I see. Both from the sort of empirical academic evidence and my personal experience, I do think that there's a strong trend there.
Right. I love the Patagonia store in Dubai. Let's fly there.
Exactly. Right.
Hey, Eric, one thing we talked about is that, like, being in a B Corp almost sort of feels like you're kind of in a little club. It's sort of interesting. Tell me about, like, there's a community sort of. What's
it's like the Jeep wave, right? You just you're in B Corp and you're like fist pump and everything's good. And it's true. I mean, you meet other B Corps and you just have that mutual respect for kind of what you stand for and the mission and purpose. So yeah, I get a lot of inspiration from other B Corps. I think one of the things that's also really powerful about the assessment is, your score. So you get this B score. When you do the assessment, you get this B score. You can go to B Corp's website and look up Fireclay's score. You can see our score history. I'm hyper competitive. Like, I love to win. I'm also not like the most money-driven person. So like, just like growing my company to make money is not like why I get up every morning. But I get like really competitive. Like, I want to beat Patagonia's B score. Like, they're 150 and we're 115, and I am like charging for it. And so I actually find that, it creates this like fun scale for us to go against these bigger companies, or companies that frankly I admire and want to, kind of be as good of, if not frankly, maybe one day better than. So there's an amazing community, and the fact that we all have this published, transparent score that you or anyone else or we can all go to, and to be able to go and learn from them, like going to Patagonia and saying, hey, I want to learn about how you're doing DE&I, or tell me about like, you guys installed solar, like that. Those types of people immediately will respond and talk to you, and that's really inspiring and exciting.
Sorry, go on, Chris.
I just want to mention something. I mean, the inspiration of this community is really tremendous in the way they help each other. But it's actually about more than the 4,000 B Corps, actually. If you look at the tools that have been created, like this assessment, or actually the corporate governance innovations, there's actually hundreds of thousands of companies that are using those regularly. A lot of financial institutions, actually there's a bank in Canada, BDC, that actually requires all of its lendees to actually go through the assessment because you learn so much. There's another bank in Colombia. There's a number of venture capital companies that use this as well. So it's actually, as I see it, in addition to a community, it's more about a set of tools to help all companies be better. And so I just want to second Eric's, invitation to all of you to go out and actually look at this assessment for your business, and grab a bottle of wine or beer or whatever.
Or two, yeah. We're gonna take questions in just a second, but I want to quickly say that Eric has very kindly bought everyone here a copy of Christopher's book, which is got right there. You can pick it up. I think there'll be a table in the lobby. So
okay, This is like this is a modern Bible, right? So many of you might have read Jim Collins' like Good to Great or any of these other like seminal business books. Chris did an amazing job. I love this book. I gifted it to my team. We're gifting it to all of you. Chris is going to do a signing. This is awesome. It's inspiring. Chris did an amazing job. This is the future of business. Pick up a copy, get it signed. It's going to change your life. It's going to change your business. So awesome.
All right.
Thank you, Eric. That's really kind of
awesome. Do we have any questions from the audience? We've got two microphones set up there. You could just, we got, I think, one from the virtual audience here.
Yeah, this question is for Eric from our virtual audience. They're curious what you have to do on an ongoing basis to retain your B Corp certification, and does it impact your marketing strategies? For example, they stated you're one of the only tile companies well known on TikTok.
Yes, the question is how you maintain your thing going forward. And what was the marketing question?
And if it impacts your marketing strategies.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We actually are on TikTok, and we've had like millions of views there. It's wild. But so you have to recertify every 3 years with B Lab, and so we have now done it. We have recertified twice. So you do have to recertify to maintain your certification. As Chris mentioned, there is an annual fee based on your revenue, which is very reasonable and modest, and that recertification gives you an opportunity to get better. Right, and so you do the certification, and then you set goals for where you want to be 2-3 years ahead. So you kind of continue to improve, just like you might want to grow your business. You can improve your B score. So we started at an 80, and now we're at a 115 out of 200. 80 is passing, and as far as our marketing, what's actually been interesting is it's actually only we got certified in 2014 at the end of the year. It's really been the last year or two that our marketing team has truly embraced the B Corp element in a lot of our marketing. I think it's kind of taken them a little while to really understand and appreciate the totality of it, and to even understand what that community looks like. And what's been really fun for me is while I championed it early, now we have this team of people around Fireclay who are really embracing it and carrying it forward. So they're now really using it. They're talking to other B Corps. We're doing partnerships and collaborations with other B Corps, and they're motivated. We're about to launch a new product, and we're doing it with Block Shop Textiles. 5% of our sales are going to go to charity. to this incredible Allies in Arts organization that's supporting minority artists. And like that type of partnership, I don't think would have been possible for our company without B Corp certification and that mentality behind it. So we're really excited about it, and they're like full steam ahead with it.
Awesome, thank you.
And I just want to say anecdotally, like, you know, we get a lot of press releases of Business of Home. I definitely see companies announcing themselves as a B Corp more and more. It's part of a normal, it's not a part of a marketing strategy, but I do think people are more comfortable marketing around it, and you know, you trust it a little bit more than a certification I've never heard of. Sorry, another question.
Hi, Lauren Karen with Studio Laloc. I was just asking because I think a lot of us interior designers are very small businesses with like solopreneurs and small teams, but is there, for the goal to become a B Corp, is there a place for like mentorship and how to do that for your business? Maybe it's in the book, but I'd just love some advice.
Do your homework. No. So yeah, the question is, does it work for small businesses, and is there mentorship available?
It definitely works for small businesses. I think it actually started out actually much more focused on small businesses. Now you have multi-billion-dollar companies that are certifying, but a lot of just one or two small person consulting firms, I mean, similar to a design firm probably. As far as mentorship, definitely, you know, Eric had mentioned, you know, that he can call up the CEO of Patagonia. Actually, geographically, I find there's a lot of connections between different types of business. So within, you know, many different cities, there are these sort of B local groups where people, you know, they're not even B Corps, but they just want to connect into this group and actually learn from others. So there's a lot of touring. I'd say it's mostly informal and people seeking it out as opposed to there being a sort of structured program.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
I think last question.
Hello, Irma from Split It. So my question is about brand recognition, which you mentioned that it was very successful. So I wanted to ask maybe if you had some tips and tricks on how to accomplish what you guys have done so far.
Oh my gosh, I would give all of that credit to our marketing team and our sales team. So like I said, we've done it very much on the organic. I'd say it's very much being true to who we are and being committed to the artisan craft of making absolutely beautiful tile. And so that focus and that just kind of relentless desire to stay true to that mission and that history has really guided us. And then I think as we've done that, we've really been able to tell the story of our makers and tell the story around this kind of corporate social responsibility side and be very kind of transparent and forthcoming with it. So I think it's like, you know, nothing happens overnight, but I think it's just been being true to who we were, staying very authentic, and just like continuing to kind of push that. I mean, but we have a really good marketing and sales team, and I also think tile is a really beautiful product that lends itself really well to the environment that we have today around photography and social media and influencers and media, and so that's resonated extremely well.
Thank you.
Cool. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I encourage everyone to get that book. Go get that book. Eric, thanks so much.